haven't updated any of my stasis builds for a while because honestly, a lot of the seasonal artifact perks haven't catered a lot to those builds, but I found something kind of fun, useful, and hilarious on the Stasis Titan again. So in this video, I'm going to be going over my updated Hoarfrost-Z Stasis build. If you plan on ever making a Stasis build, this chest piece is something that you're definitely going to want. So it's Perk, Glacial Fortification. When using the Stasis subclass, your barricade becomes a wall of stasis crystals that slows nearby targets when created, and standing behind this barricade will grant you and your allies increased weapon reload speed, stability, and range. So on top of serving the purpose of a rally barricade, it also slows targets around you and can freeze those targets, which we all know slowing targets stuns overload champions and freezing those targets stuns unstoppable champions. So we kind of have the 2-in-1 combo on top of free rally barricade with this. Now, before I get into the subclass, I do want to talk about two exotic weapons that just make this so ridiculous. First up being Salvation's Grip. This thing used to not be very good, but now it got a couple changes. So, intrinsic trait, we have Cryo Cannon. If you press your fire button, you hold to charge it, release to fire, the weapon's charged projectiles create a pattern of stasis crystals on impact and freeze nearby targets. So pretty much, instead of creating that one stasis crystal now, it creates a giant wave of them, which is just hilarious in and of itself. We also have Linear Compensator, Alloy Casing, and also Palmer Grip. But we also have Shatter Shot. This weapon's uncharged projectiles deal bonus damage to stasis crystals and frozen targets. Rapidly destroying multiple stasis crystals reloads this weapon from reserves. So if you do the uncharged one and there's stasis crystal around, it can provide bonus damage, break them easier, etc. So not the coolest thing, but having that wave of stasis crystals is going to be very key for this build in particular. The second exotic is a stasis bow that came with Season of Defiance called the Verglas Curve. So its intrinsic trait, Hail Barrage. Final blows of the weapon grant stasis arrows. Your next hip fire shot will fire all of them in a single volley. So if you're aiming down sight and you get kills with this bow and you go to hip fire, you can fire pretty much 5 stasis crystals at the targets. It's absolutely hilarious. For the other ones, we have Natural String, Straight Fletching, and then its other perk, Hail Storm. Stasis arrows freeze targets on contact and create stasis crystals when affecting the environment, and also has a catalyst here, which if you don't know, freezing a target grants this weapon faster draw speed for a short period of time. Again, those things aren't really important, but having pretty much free stasis crystals from just getting a couple kills is kind of useful for this build. Next, let's go over what I'm using under the subclass. So obviously, we only have the one super, which is Glacial Quake. Again, it can also create a lot of stasis crystals. You can melee a target instantaneously. There's a couple things here, really good for crowd control, and in a controlled small environment, it can do a lot of damage. For our abilities, I'm going to go with the Rally Barricade. For movement, you can use what you like. I like Strafe Lift. Obviously, we only have the one melee, which is Shiver Strike. Again, this is the Superman Punch. Interesting enough. And then for the grenade, we're going to go with the Glacial Grenade. Again, you're going to throw it. It's going to create a wall of those stasis crystals, which can be shattered. For our aspects, first up, we're going with Tectonic Harvest here. Shattering a stasis crystal creates a stasis shard. This shard grants melee energy when picked up by you or your ally. So it can affect basically everybody on your team, give those bonuses. But with all of these stasis crystals we're going to be creating, there's going to be a lot of stasis shards on the field. For the second one, we're going with Cryoclasm. After sprinting for a short while, enables a longer and more powerful slide. Sliding into stasis crystals or frozen targets shatters them and any nearby frozen targets. So as long as we slide, any stasis crystals around us, they're going to blow up. For our fragments, first up here, we have Whisper of Charge. Shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate. Shattering additional stasis crystals increases the duration of this benefit. It is a +10 resilience. So with all the stasis crystals that we're going to have on the field, breaking them is just going to give us free recharge rate for our grenade, which again, our grenades, Glacial Grenade, more stasis crystals, coincides with this. Kind of makes sense. Next up, we have Whisper of Conduction. Nearby stasis shards track to your position. It is a +10 to resilience and intellect. So any of those stasis shards we create from breaking those stasis crystals, they're automatically going to come to us, so we don't have to go out there and run for them necessarily. And if you're running around, they track to you anyway. You're going to get the other bonuses with the armor mods, which I'll talk about later, and also Whisper of Rhyme, our next fragment. Collecting a stasis shard grants a small amount of overshield, which falls off after 10 seconds. Collecting additional shards adds to the overshield and refreshes the timer. So not only are you going to be able to have good crowd control with all the stasis crystals and potentially even block damage from your class ability, grenade, whatever, you're also going to have overshield when you break those crystals. It's free overshield, essentially. Then for our last one, I have Whisper of Fissures, increasing the damage and size of the burst of stasis when you destroy a stasis crystal or defeat a frozen target. Essentially, more AoE damage from all of the stasis crystals we're going to have on the field. Next, let's go over the armor mods that I'm using. Starting with the helmet here, I do like Dynamo. Reduces super cooldown when using your class ability near targets. Again, with the Hoarfrost-Z, we're going to be using our class ability to create those stasis crystals. might as well use it near targets so we can get more super energy. If you don't want to do double dynamo, that's fine, but if you do need like a heavy ammo finder, you know, like I said with Salvation's Grip, I do like to have heavy ammo quite often so I can create a lot of those shards. I do like heavy ammo finder, but you can switch this one out. And also, I like Harmonic Siphon. Again, this is going to coincide with stasis, so rapid stasis weapon final blows, create an orb of power. You can honestly substitute this for, you know, any of the scout mods if you're going to be using those, or if you're going to be using, you know, an energy weapon, you know, that's arc, solar, void, anything like that. It honestly doesn't matter. Use what mod you like, but I would highly recommend at least one dynamo. Next up on my gauntlets, I have Font of Focus. You gain a bonus to discipline while you have any armor charge. Your armor charge now decays over time. So with any of these stat boosting mods, it gives a plus 30 to that stat as long as you have an armor charge. With 2 of these on, it's plus 50. With 3, it is plus 60. So with my discipline stat at 72, whenever I have an armor charge, that's now going to get bumped up to 100. If you don't know how armor charges work, essentially if you collect an orb of power, it's going to give you an armor charge. Baseline, you get 3 armor charges. With these blue mods, they each last 10 seconds. Now for other 2 mods, don't worry if they're blacked out because Bungie currently disabled them for the Solstice event because someone already found something broken in the game already. But whenever it's fixed, you'll be able to use these mods again. It works really well for this build. So just keep that in mind. I have Bolstering Detonation and Focusing Strike, so when I use my melee and my grenade, it gives me a cooldown to my class ability so I can use the Hoarfrost-Z perk more. For the chest piece, you can honestly use what you want here. I do like a mixture of reserve mods, so I do have harmonic reserves for my stasis weapons, and then I also have Charged Up, which is going to increase my armor charge carry count by 1, so now instead of 3 armor charges, I can have 4. But if you did want to switch this out for something like melee damage resistance, since we are going to be in close quarters, that's totally fine. For our boots here, we have a very important one, which is Elemental Charge. Collecting a Fire Sprite, Ionic Trace, Stasis Shard, Void Breach, or destroying a Strand Tangle has an escalating chance of giving you an armor charge. Now, with all the stasis crystals we're going to be creating, we're definitely gaining armor charges from those stasis crystals fairly easily. So even if one of them doesn't give us an armor charge, with the amount we're creating, we're easily going to max out our armor charges. Now, next up, I do like Installation. Again, reduces class ability cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power. And then lastly, Stasis Weapon Surge. Your stasis weapons gain a small bonus to damage while you have any armor charge. Your armor charge now decays over time. Similar to the stat boosting ones, this just gives a buff to whatever specific weapon you have, because there's a bunch of them down here. But for this one, it is stasis weapon specific. And then last on the class item, I have Bomber. Reduces grenade cooldown when using your class ability. Then we also have Powerful Attraction, automatically collects nearby orbs of power when you activate your class ability. So when we pop that Rally Barricade, creates all those stasis crystals, we also collect any orbs near us instantaneously. And then lastly, I have Reaper. After using your class ability, your next weapon final blow spawns an orb of power. Now for stats for you to focus on, obviously Resilience. We talk about this every video. Try to have tier 10 100 Resilience. It's going to give you a 30% damage reduction in PvE, but it's also tied to the Titan class ability stat. So if we have max resilience, we also know that we have the highest cooldown for our Rally Barricade, aka Hoarfrost-Z Stasis Shards, pretty much. Now for the other ones, I would focus on Discipline, Intellect, and Strength. Again, Discipline is tied to your grenade, Intellect is tied to the super, and Strength is tied to the melee. Granted, we're going to get our melee back pretty quickly, plus our grenade back pretty quickly as well, so you can mix up however you want with these ones. Now for weapon options, obviously we already talked about 2 exotics at the beginning of the video, but we are using Stasis Weapon Surge, so stasis weapons in general having that bonus damage is going to be good for this build, you know, overall. But you could also look into weapons that could come with something like Headstone. Again, Precision Final Blows spawn a Stasis Crystal at the victim's location. Again, that's another Stasis Crystal that can be created. Then also, finding weapons that come with Collective Action. This is a new trait perk, but when collecting elemental pickups or throwing a Strand Tangle, it grants a stacking period of increased damage. So if you're collecting all of those Stasis Crystals around you, this weapon's going to gain that bonus damage. Now, if you got through all that and you're still a little confused about how this build works, I'm going to break it down for you because it's really easy. There's no crazy setup for this. As long as you are creating stasis crystals and cracking them, you're getting free armor charges, free overshield, free bonus weapon damage, and really good crowd control aspects. So let's just say we're about to go into an engagement. What do we want to do? Well, we want to create stasis crystals. How do we do that? Well, we have the class ability with our Hoarfrost-Z. We have exotic weapon options. We also have the glacial grenade. So we have multitude of options to create those stasis crystals. Next up, we want to break them, whether we shoot them or slide through them with cryoclasm. Now, breaking those is going to create those stasis shards from Tectonic Harvest. This is where all the stuff falls into place. Collecting those stasis shards is going to give us melee ability energy through Tectonic Harvest, on top of Whisper of Shards, giving us an even faster regen for our Glacial Grenade, so we can use that again. If we miss any shards that are around, Whisper of Conduction is going to have them track toward us, and whenever we collect them, Whisper of Rhyme is giving us an Overshield, and with the amount that we're creating, having max Overshield and getting it refreshed is going to happen very often. Plus, the bonus from Whisper of Fissures, allowing for those Stasis Crystals to do even more damage, is just fantastic. Now, with our armor mods, the main thing is Elemental Charge, because again, we have an escalating chance to gain an armor charge when we collect a stasis shard. And with all the ones we're creating, the chances of us maxing out our armor charges is very, very high, just because even though the chance, it's only a escalating chance, with all the ones we're creating, having it maxed out is going to be a piece of cake. And with all of our other armor mods, it just kind of falls into place. Using Dynamo, popping the class ability near targets, giving us our super vacuum faster. Stasis Siphon, creating an orb of power. Reaper, creating an orb of power. Powerful Attraction, collecting orbs of power whenever we use our class ability. Collecting those orbs of power, Insulation kicks in, giving us even more class ability energy. Using our melee and our grenade with Focusing Strike and Bolstering Detonation, giving us our class ability back even faster. Having armor charges. Font to Focus, giving us the bonus to our Discipline and also bonus stasis weapon damage. Again, everything else here just falls into place. As long as you create stasis crystals and collect those shards, you're going to be set. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is my updated Hoarfrost-Z Stasis Titan build. If for some reason the artifact perks actually have some cool stasis stuff, I will be revisiting this build. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm also going to put the dim link in the description, so if you want to copy everything that I'm using from the subclass, weapons, armor mods, all that stuff, test it out for yourself, definitely go for it. Come back to me and say, hey, I actually like using this thing. You could also change this out to make this thing even better. Definitely let me know. I'm willing to hear you guys out because I'm testing stuff out in this game all the time. In any event, if you like what you saw, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then turn that bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on another build video here on the channel. If you want to tune in any live streams, I actually stream live here on YouTube, and if you want to be updated when I am going live, other YouTube videos, and basically any of my other content, be sure to follow me on Twitter at ItsDaveTV. Again, like I said, I give updates there. And then also be sure to join my Discord. Again, we are talking about Destiny 2, a variety of other games, plus PC tech, anime, and more. Lastly, if you want to look into supporting the channel, you can always become a member. If you don't know what a membership is, it's essentially like a Twitch subscription. Again, it's going to give you access to the exclusive emotes, monthly badges, and other cool stuff here on the channel. Again, it's just another way to support me so I can continue making this content for you guys. If you want more details, all you have to do is press the join button, next subscribe, and that'll give you a rundown with all the details you need. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been your boy. We'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.